Welcome, everyone. It is great to have you all here for this exciting session on the Eureka AI call for R&D projects. I'm Michael Walch. I will moderate this session. I do not want to take the spotlight for too long, but I would like to briefly give you an overview of the agenda so you know what is happening. So I will share my screen so you can see this as well. So the agenda is we will have a short introduction and welcoming words by the Ministry of Austria for Climate Action, Environment, Energy, Mobility, Innovation and Technology by Daniela Muhammad-Saas. Afterwards, Peter Liebner will present an experience report from a Eureka project that has been completed. Then Sineb Sarilar will introduce the Eureka Cluster's AI call, and Frederick Wiesner, and myself will introduce the funding opportunities in Sweden and Austria. And afterwards, we have a short question and answer session. So I would like to pass on the speaker role to Daniela Muhammad-Saas for the introduction words.
Thank you, Michael, and good morning, everyone. Thank you also for the invitation and the opportunity to give you some insights in the Austrian activities in the field of AI. But first, I would like to briefly highlight Eureka and the great work done by this network. Austria was one of the founding members of Eureka, I think 35 or 36 years ago, and takes now the chair for a second time. One of the main initiatives of the Austrian chairmanship is called Advancing Eureka. And one item of Advancing Eureka is the rollout of the new and updated Eureka cluster model. And both AI calls, this year and last year, are the first calls under the new Eureka cluster model. And I'm quite sure there will be more to come. I think we will hear something about that today. AI is one of the most exciting technologies of our time, but it holds many dangers in its application. But at the same time, it can help us to face the most important societal challenges, such as climate change. That's very important for our ministry. We have a number of initiatives in this field in our ministry, and we hope we will be able to publish the national AI strategy soon. I hope before summer. I hope it really. The strategy defines the framework conditions for responsible and safe use of AI in all areas of life. So that's very important for us, that it's safe and responsible. The key focus areas will include regulatory frameworks, ethic, legal, safety and security of AI, standards, AI infrastructure, of course, data use and data sharing, conditions for R&D, creating awareness, and of course AI in the public sector. But a real focus in the application fields was set in the area of climate protection. We have defined 90, so it's really 90 concrete actions to ensure that implementation happens as quickly as possible. It's very important for us. But there's also another project I want to mention. Right now we're preparing a call in the field of AI, and it might be interesting for you and for Eureka submission. The name of the program is AI for Green, and it promotes research-intensive technology in the field of AI. The fields of application include both climate protection and also adaptation to the consequences of climate change. So both things. So we are especially looking for real interdisciplinary projects that help to achieve the climate goals and also help to solve the environmental challenges. But in the moment, some details are being finalized with experts, and the call opening will take place during the Imagine 21. It's on June 17th, and it's a free online event. and we would be very, very happy if you join us. I can post the link after my short talk. So I think that's all. I thank you very much, and I wish you a really exciting workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniela Mohammed-Saz. I think it's very interesting on how to combine the AI strategy and climate protection. So we would look forward to this in the future. Now I would like to give the floor to our next speaker, Peter Liebner, to give the presentation about the Compact project.
Very warm welcome from my side. I have the honor to present the results of the Eureka Idea-Free Compact project. And it was kind of a journey for an Austrian SME because it's a huge cluster, and I want to give you some insights and also some tips how to perform successfully in such projects, because it's not normal to collaborate in such huge ecosystems with such a budget around it. First of all, I want to present myself, who am I, who we are as a company, what we do, and then I come directly to the Eureka Idea-Free Compact ideas, results and outcomes, and also some findings. And at the end, I will give you a resume. My name is Peter Lieber. I'm a founder, as I'm my nature. I'm a so-called parallel entrepreneur, so founding to stay, not founding to sell. So I have founded already more than 14 companies because I have already successfully failed with companies of mine. But currently I'm running 14 companies in 5 countries. And my focus industries are software industry related or software heavy, software using industries where safety is a huge challenge, meaning in automotive, aviation or aerospace, space, transportation, in defense, but also in finance, banking, insurance. Their lives are not so much insured, but if you lose money, maybe it's also not funny. But there is a lot of regulation in the market, and therefore models are very healthy. Because of COVID, I had some new experiences in Austria. I had too much time. Maybe I was on travel all the time before, but in COVID times I was not traveling too much. So since then, I am the president of the Austrian Association of Entrepreneurs, also related to the European Entrepreneurship Organizations. I'm the president of the Association of Austrian Software Industry, and since March, I'm also the president from the biggest technical school. It's TGM. It was a founding from Austrian Gewerbeverein more than 100 years ago, but it's an interesting combination of education and research and economics. Who we are, my headquarters, it's not my headquarters, but we are in independent sister companies because otherwise I'm not able to participate in European funding projects. But the headquarters are in Australia, but we are here in Europe since 18 years, responsible as an independent sister company for the European markets. Some years ago, I founded another company around SparxSystems. We have currently more than 850,000 users of our tool. In the European regions, it's more than 350,000 users in all domains. So modeling is relevant. And we also trust that modeling was never a hype, and that's the good news because hypes always fail after a hype phase. So we always have been there and still growing in this market 15 to 30%, and we have a lot of competitors, of course. But it's interesting that we have a lot of insights in various domains. So if a crisis in finance happens, then we are more strong in other domains. If a crisis in automotive happens, as it has been in the past, then finance is more strong. So we are always head above water. That's the good news. But what is modeling? And just to give you some ideas, BPMN is a very popular thing. It's business process modeling and notation. The fun story with that is that's not only a modeling language, it's also a notation how to use this language. And it becomes more and more popular also for business people. To describe their dependencies, their relationships, and so on. And if you heard before about green, deal of the European Union, then there is a relationship to Archimate, this language I have not pointed out, but there is a relation with the sustainability goals as an example, as the higher goals for organizations in the future, and to have relations to that goals and to bind it to your real business process is one of the aspects of modeling. But if we come to the Compact project, it's more about system and software engineering. So maybe you have seen already the sticky man and the use cases and the workflows called activities. But more interesting, of course, are class diagrams, timings for real-time systems, but also interaction diagrams, decisions that are really creating code automatically. So we trust in this code generation story. So coding is not the future. It will be done by machines in the future. So but we need a higher representation, and models are a real helper in these ecosystems. And what is very important that models should not stand alone, because otherwise we could use PowerPoint or Visio or some drawing things. It is about traceability and creating model intelligence. So it becomes really complex. As an example, a Boeing has about 60 million model elements that are related to each other. So a human cannot really understand anymore all the details. So you need different visualizations and viewpoints and to deal with this complexity. But the good news is, if everything is related, you have an understanding of your ecosystem from the requirements point of view, from the components point of view, from the economical point of view. So you have a lot of viewpoints and a lot of networks of models in this domain. Just to give you a short recap, who needs that? So Compact deals in the cyber-physical systems and cyber-physical production systems. So all about embedded systems, safety-critical systems. So developing software for chips that are safety relevant. So domains are automotive, health, aerospace, space, defense, and so on. For EU data protection regulation, this finance departments is very important, but also retail, insurance. So, and these are real customers. And the fun story is that we always deal also with competitors. So Software AG is a competitor, at the same time it's also a customer. So this ecosystem is a real integrative one. So Software AG is a competitor in enterprise architecture, but for software engineering, they are using our tools. The same with SAP. SAP has purchased Sybase as an example with business process modeling for their SAP ecosystem, but to develop their own software, they're also using our systems to develop software. So now to Eureka. The idea, and in the beginning, I was really, let me say, we were discussing about chips that cost less than $1. So how we can invest $12 million in developing software for such a cheap thing. And we have learned a lot of things, because Infineon, Bosch, a lot of universities were participating. At the beginning, also a Spanish partner and a Turkish partner was on board, but they have not been funded in their region. So this is a challenge always with the Eureka clusters, that the funding is a local thing, even if the Eureka cluster says it's a fundable project. But then we had to refine a good structure, I think, overall, with Finnish partners, German partners, and Austrian partners. So what it's all about, the structure of the work packages, please don't read it. You can get the presentation afterwards. Just to let you know that there was a lot of interaction between work packages necessary. And because it was a 3 years running project with some pre-time and after time, it was an ongoing collaboration in all domains. But what's the story about? The challenge, once again, is this $1 IoT sensor thing, or a 50-cent system on chip thing, or if you go to the Chinese market, where microcontrollers are costing less than 10 cents nowadays, or going to 3 cents. So you have to produce really a huge number of devices that the investment comes back. But the challenge is that if you look in the past, that the software part, this is this whatever color it is, I don't know, on your screens, this big thing. So software was always 45% part of the development cost, and we are discussing about $310 million dollars for developing a new chip, system on chip, including hardware and software. And this is the area where we have been focused on, that this software part also becomes reduced by a lot of automation. So this was our target aim, and of that part, we are addressing 10% of the low-level software that was addressed by Compact. But related to the amount within the first project, the money comes back. Just to give you an idea. In Austria, it's sometimes hard to understand such huge numbers. So we have no chip production. Everything is produced in China. But related to the market, and you think about the automotive industry, in each car, there are more than 120 electronic computer units, and the challenge is they have to be secure, to have to be safety. So a lot of numbers in one single car of such chips. So this is a matter of scale. Of course, we can stay with the old technologies and that it becomes cheaper, but we need smaller devices, less resources, cheaper production, and so on and so forth. So this curve will go on in a worse direction, and we targeted this low-level software that we addressed with Compact. And Gartner has numbered the semiconductor story, and we started in 2015 to initiate this initiative. We started in 2017, and you see the number is growing. Currently in the market, car vendors have to stop development or production because not enough VCUs are available. You know, the graphic card situation, because it's of the Bitcoin collection. It's the complete opposite of Green Deal. If you deal with Bitcoins and such technologies, it's just a game from my point of view, just to let you know my position. But it's a game against the climate, but just to let you know. But it will go on. So it's all going in a very dramatic way up. What we have achieved overall is that, and this was really hard because we had hardware vendors and software vendors and universities and different perspective on this modeling aspects. So this is a very concrete, please don't try to read it. This is already a very concrete model and relationships, but to have then the right namings for the right things was a challenge for itself. So we need almost 1 year to identify what we are really talking about. Hardware vendors, hardware, what is the perspective for hardware development thing? And so we identified such a core model to identify the common things between hardware, software, and application. So hardware, software, firmware running on a hardware is, from my point of view, also software, but for a hardware perspective, it's different viewpoint. And so we tried to fill the gaps within this project. Of course, we borrowed a lot of principles from SysML and UML or Mate. There's a real-time profile also available. And we had to address a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach, because sometimes there is already code available, sometimes not. So we had this from the application, what we want to achieve, and then we build the hardware, or we have a hardware and we want to optimize that one. So we had to also address different approaches. A second issue is that there are different boards in the market, and these are sample boards, and you don't want to reinvent wheels if you just want to switch the hardware platform. And in the past, you have to recode everything. So, and the idea was to find a principle to have one model to rule them all. So just switch the ecosystem, but you can use your coding and your code generators for different platforms. And one platform is using Python support, Python whatever plot, and the other is only supporting C++. And this is a very important thing, that you model it once and you can target to different hardware platforms is one of the major achievements. So we really, and you see a tiny difference because the code generated uses 1 times the C principles, or the measurement of timing is different. It's one times it's seconds real timing because they have a timer, and the other is only cycles. But this is the model is the same, and that is a very important achievement, that you can change the platform, the types, without touching source code. And this is for a huge number of devices very important, and you have guaranteed security, safety, and so on, testing scenarios, reducing, and so on. Then the magic question, if a generator is worse than writing the code. And the good news is the code, the template size is bigger, but the good number is the runtime ecosystem. The runtime system is, and the results are almost the same. And if you but of course the overhead, you have to write the generator. So in the first cycle, you have more effort, but if you are running on the second machine, on the second platform, it pays off. And that's the story. So it's worth investing if you not only invent one chip platform. And Infineon, Bosch, and so on are ongoing in this development. So they are winning always if they use generators instead of writing always these things from scratch. We had also some really cool use cases for car identification. And there was also the platform decision. It was necessary to make an analysis which platform for real-time car recognition systems on tiny platforms is more performant than they would have in the past developed it 4 times or 3 times. And the result was that it was possible to reduce the speed from original 300 milliseconds to 80 milliseconds only with generators. So I have only 1 minute left if I understand the sign. Another cool outcome was that if you model, then the expectation typically developers fail in the debug phase because they see, okay, this was generated and try to change the generated code. This is not recommended. Please, developers, keep off the code. Leave it alone. Trust the generator or optimize the generator. So it was very important that we bring this debug capability also on model level, so that you see you can debug on model level and instead of debugging the source code. Of course, you have the complete transparency, but this was a major achievement that you can see what is going on the sources on model level as well. Another outcome, and this was a parallel development at Austrian Institute of Technology, was a new thinking of cybersecurity modeling for IoT. This is now a product available since some weeks. It was already achieved some awards. This was also the rules and regulations for IoT were developed within the Compact project. Of course, you can see also videos and produced outcome on this website, SparxSystems.eu.iot. And last but not least, our resume. It was hard in the finding phase because the consortium is huge. You don't know the people, you don't know their interests. But if you share your knowledge, and this was our target, we shared our knowledge. How do we think about modeling? What is our asset? And we give, and that was the good thing, first give, then take. This is a principle manifest that you have in mind. If you want to collaborate, first give, then take. Then the others understand what you have. The second thing, we also reach new customers, not always with the result project, but because of the network. Eureka cluster projects and IT focused on software brings us to a very interesting customer base. Of course, Infineon, not the research department, but others Infineons, job, the NASA, Volkswagen Group, and we have been chosen as the Austrian role model for IT. And yes, last but not least, we have also new opportunities because we are also writing a new proposal for ITF3 right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter Liebner, for this introduction. I think founding to stay is a very good principle. And it's also interesting that you found challenges in the local funding schemes, but you overcame these challenges. Now I would like to give the floor to Sineb Sarilar for the next presentation. Sineb, the floor is yours. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I hope everybody can see my screen. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Zeynep Sarılar. I'm the chairwoman of ITEA. And I would like to introduce you today the Eureka clusters in general, and then also I would like to introduce the AI call that has been mentioned already, that is still open, that you can join during this time. So What is an Eureka cluster? Indeed, as you have already heard from the Peter's presentation, it's a kind of a partnership between the public authorities and the industry. I usually mention that it's a place where the dreams of the companies are aligned with the national priorities. It's a kind of a working together. As it has been already mentioned, the challenges that we have within our environment, within our software challenges, hardware challenges, and everything, collaboration is mandatory. Nothing can be solved by yourself, not within by company, not in one country. So Eureka Cluster is enabling this partnership for collaborative innovation and to create impact on the societal and then economical, creating results indeed. How do we do it? Indeed, it is clusters are industry-led organizations. So the large enterprises and the SMEs, research institutes and universities bringing their own knowledge bases and coming together on a project topic. So first of all, the community is, different people coming from different knowledge bases with coming together on one purpose, and they're creating a project idea. And then this ecosystem within like this matchmaking activities, the ecosystem is formed around the project idea, and then the project is submitted, and then this project is funded by the public authorities. As we said, this is a collaboration between the industry and the public authorities, because we get the national priorities from the public authorities, what is really important for your country. So it should be aligned there also. And once the project is labeled and funded by the public authorities, then the clusters continue to do the monitoring, the impact. So we are doing the mentoring indeed, while you're going through the life cycle. As Peter has mentioned, if it's 3 years, we have reviews, reports, and that kind of thing. So we are working together to create this impact. So yeah, and we have already mentioned, so industry is putting also a kind of a fund, and then public-private funds coming together. There are a set of cluster projects are created, and they are really focused on creating impact, as I said. And through some reports, some analysis, through the partners from the Eureka clusters projects, there's a significant increase in the annual turnover, as it's more than 13% has been the increase on the turnover, and also for the employment effects, also the HR. It is not only in the numbers, I can also mention the quality of the people. As you have seen, it's an international collaborative environment, so you know other countries, you know other projects, people. So it is also increasing the quality in your companies in the HR concept. So for the AI call, we have 5 clusters. This is Celtic Next is working on the telecommunications, ICT, and vertical sectors. Eureka is working on the low carbon energy. ITEA is working on the software innovation and digital transformation. And Penta and Euripides are working on the ECS value chain, and Smart is also working on the smart manufacturing and roboting and that kind of technologies. So those are the different communities that you can find good partners and collaboration. Now I would like to introduce you the call related with the AI, which is still open. And as we are all aware, AI is everywhere. It's a broad thematic. But on the other hand, I need to mention you that it's a bottom-up environment. So you will see some of the thematics, but you can create, if your project idea is beyond the state of art related with the AI, then it is the right call for you to apply by building a consortium. Okay, so as I said, it's a very generic topic. It is bottom up. All those topics are valid for this AI call, but there is one rule that you need to check if your project idea is valid with your public authorities also, because also at the national level, some project ideas are accepted and some not. So the moment that you have the idea, it's better that you check with your public authority for this. All of the clusters that I have already mentioned to you, they are also joining with their communities. So you can find your partners from the telecom, software, hardware, manufacturing, or energy sector from those communities. 14 countries are supporting this AI call. So when you're looking for your partners, it's better that you check which countries are supporting. But also, Eureka is a very agile and flexible tool. So you can check, even if you're not from that countries, you need to check with your public authority, because there may be some possibility that you're also funded within this concept with your national research organization. Submitting a project, it is easy. There is, as you see, there is a green highlighted link. You can link on that one, and then if you have a project idea, you build your consortium, and then you submit your project. And if you have any questions, the cluster offices are there for you to support. So please get in touch with us so we can help to you. If you really want to find a contact or a partner, it is really, it's our job to support you during this period. And if there is any, you can check the website, there are some guidelines. Okay, so what is a successful project? Indeed, first of all, as I said, your project idea should be beyond the state of art. It should be AI related, of course. And also when you're building your consortium, you need to think about the market value chain. So when you're thinking, okay, I'm going to make a change on this, then you need to think which kind of partners do you need, what kind of value chain you need. You need to think about the market value chain and technology value chain. And you need to pick up a good consortium. A mid-size project is important. If you need to, you can check the websites to learn a little bit more about that also. Okay, and there you can see the call processing and support. You can get in touch with the cluster offices to get more information. Whatever you do, you submit your project, and that is evaluated by the technical experts from the clusters. If it has an innovative idea, if it's a market value, it is not too far. We need to have a market driven. So if you put end users to your projects, it's perfect. Then we check your consortium structure also. Then if it is good quality, we put a kind of a label to show this quality for the public authorities. And then you get the funding from the public authorities. There is a brokerage tool that you can check also, where you can see all the potential ideas. You can find partners from there. So I highly recommend that you go to the brokerage tool and find out who could be helpful for your project idea, or to which project idea you can be a partner. So it works in both ways. So this is the call timeline. I mean, we still have time for the project submission. And then afterwards, projects will be evaluated at the technical level by clusters, but also with the public authorities. And we expect that will start by the end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022. There are some brokerage tool events, and like this one, there will be some more, I think. I am not sure, but there are some networking tools I already mentioned. There are some, and the cluster offices are there for you to support. I wish you all the luck during this AI call time. There is still 1.5 months. Check the brokerage tool, submit your project, build up your consortium, and I wish you all the best luck for innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeynep. Thank you. I think it's very interesting that you mentioned that the clusters are a funding instrument or a research supporting instrument that creates impact both in quantity and quality, especially on the topic of AI. That's very important and interesting. So now our next speaker, Frederick Wiesner. The floor is yours, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fredrik Weisner, and I am a program manager at Vinnova, Sweden's innovation agency. And I am managing this call as well as lots of other AI activities in Sweden. I will just share my screen here. All looks good. So Eureka is, and all the different calls and from the different clusters is a very important part of both Vinnova's and Sweden's strategy to support large-scale innovation projects. And we're also happy to see that there are many joint project proposals from Sweden and Austria in combination. So being part of this event is very important for us. And so a big thank you to FFG and all the organizers. At Vinnova, we are in line with the different topics and the areas and the definitions that Senjep has already outlined as part of the call. So we don't have any specific national priorities limiting in what ways that Swedish and Austrian consortia can work together. But this list highlights some of the domains where you will definitely be able to find strong Swedish partners. It's a long list and it does not include everything for sure, but we are working a lot with edge computing, decentralized AI. Software and systems development has had a long history within Sweden, and especially within the domain of complex and evolving software systems. There's a lot of activity going on, both in terms of AI and automation. We also have a relatively sizable life science industry working on many different problems where AI is applicable. And then also in terms of our forestry industry, our mining industry, manufacturing, we currently put a lot of effort both in terms of research and development in order to digitalize value chains and to automate different types of industrial settings. And there's quite a few things going on right now in Sweden. In Gothenburg, there was recently launched an AI Edge Lab in combination with AI Sweden and a lot of very interesting and big companies who are also active in Eureka, many of them. The Swedish autonomous vehicle startup Einride this week secured $100 million in funding. And they are a very active company in the Eureka calls and also in the last AI call. So it's definitely a company that you will be able to connect to. And there's also a lot of other things happening in relation to AI. When it comes to our funding criteria, we have a budget of 100 million Swedish crowns, 10 million euros for all the different Eureka calls. And we will fund up to 3 projects from this call. Vinnova can fund up to 50% of the project budget of the Swedish consortium, and it's quite straightforward for a Swedish consortium to apply for national funding. Depending on what organization you are, you can receive different levels of funding, which is made in the form of grants. And regarding the funding process, the Swedish national call will open immediately after the international assessment has been done. And then we will do the national assessment during November and December with funding decisions starting in January. And finally, there are many ways to connect to Swedish companies and research institutions. To begin with, there are 80 registered Swedish participants in the matchmaking tool for the AI call. And you can also, so I definitely recommend you to reach out to them. And you can also connect via the Enterprise Europe Network and to all the different companies and research institutions that are available in Sweden, among which I've listed a few here with an academic focus. And you can definitely also reach out to me and Vinova, and we will definitely try to send you along the right path. So thank you very much for this presentation, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Frederick. Thank you very much. It's interesting to hear that there are so many activities going on the topic of AI in Sweden right now. So thanks for presenting the funding conditions in Sweden. Now I will take over and present the conditions in Austria. I will share the slides. I think you can see my screen. Okay. So, assuming that you have found a partner and have submitted the international application, you also in Austria have to submit a separate national application. And this will be evaluated in two major aspects. It has to be technically innovative, and it has to be economically feasible and benefiting the company and the country. Now, in principle, you have two options to submit the project in Austria for this call. The first one is via the general program, Basisprogramme, it's called in German, and 85% of all Eureka project submissions choose this option. The second option that you have is via themed programs. Now, the difference is general programs, it's a single firm project submission. So if you have two Austrian partners, each of them has to submit a separate individual independent application to general program. In themed program, you can submit one application for all the partners in general, and you can also have research organizations as direct partners in themed programs. So that's not possible in general programs. And of course, you can also join these projects self-funded, but that's not the usual way that is chosen. Now, some numbers about general programs. So here we have a very attractive funding scheme. Small, medium enterprises can get a grant of up to 60% of eligible costs. So this is a non-refundable grant. Large companies get a funding mix of up to 50%. And you can find more information on our homepage and in the slide sets afterwards. Now, themed programs, this is very interesting and has been introduced at the beginning of this session. There will be, or there is currently, is planned to be the AI for Green call, as mentioned by Daniela Muhammad Saz. This is well synchronized with the Eureka AI call. We have the deadline, we expect it in October, and the launch of the call is planned on this virtual event called Imagine 21. You can find the link on the slides. So this is, again, is one of the themed programs that you can use to apply for funding for the Eureka Clusters AI call. There are many other themed programs running, organized by the FFG, and in principle, you can use the Eureka and this call to internationalize applications to these themed programs. In this case, just please contact us because we have to clarify the details. Then we provide another very nice funding scheme that is for small enterprises, for startups. We fund the period in which you create, design, ideate, and finally write your applications. So each company in Austria can apply at the FFG once a year for this. It's a rather small funding, but it helps you to get one person working dedicated on a project without causing too much financial hardship. So we support here basically one person working 3 months on writing a proposal with his project start idea. So I think that's very attractive as well. Now we would like to get in contact with you. This is a very important part. We provide the service to consult you on this project. So we are not only here to evaluate these projects, but we would like to actually help you during the submission process. So please get in contact with us. And again, Frederick Wiesner already mentioned the Enterprise Europe Network that helps with partner search. So this is very briefly from my part, the Austrian perspective. And now we have 5 minutes left for questions and answers. So please ask them in the chat if you have not done so already. I will stop the screen sharing. Alexandra Peng is here to forward us the questions if there are any from the chat or from the audience. So please, Alexandra, are there any questions?
Yes, thanks to all the speakers and thanks to the participants for all your questions. I know we're on a tight schedule, so I think we can only answer 1 or 2 questions. Question 1 is, what is the minimum size of partners, 2 from different countries, and minimum size of project budget?
I think this one is for CNEP.
Yeah. Indeed, we would like to have only at least 2 countries, but that is not what I would like to suggest to you, because as it has been already mentioned, some countries are not funding, then you need to have minimum of 2. So I would suggest at least 3 to 4 countries would be a safe zone for you. And the minimum budget we are talking about is 3 million euros at least. So it is not very small projects, and the project size can go up till 10 to 15 million euros also. From the cluster projects, we really want to create an impact, and the global impact, where it is important to have at least 1 or 2 large companies, at least 4 or 5 SMEs, and also 1 or 2 research institutes to build up a really strong, good consortium. But those are not mandatory, it's only recommended to you. Okay, thank you.
Another question connected to the AI call. What is the overall budget for this call?
So I can briefly answer this. Because we are funding nationally, the funding comes from national funding pots, and it depends on the program. So I can now present the condition in Austria. There are 2, like I mentioned, there are 2 programs where you can apply. You can use general programs, Basisprogramme, and this is an open budget, so there are no limits. The themed programs will have a budget for which all the applications compete. More information about this themed program, this AI for Green, and how much the maximum budget there will be available at the Imagine 21 event. Maybe Frederick wants to add from the side of Sweden.
It's about the same for us. We also have an open budget of 10 million euros for all the different Eureka calls. So yeah, we expect to fund up to 3 different projects with Swedish participants.
Maybe one more?
Yes, one last question. What's the difference between the international Eureka application and the national funding applications?
Okay, I can take this one as well from the perspective of Austria. So I think the focus on the international application is on the impact of the whole consortium, on the whole project idea. That has to be illustrated. How do all the partners work together and create impact as a whole? In Austria, we would like to see in the national application basically only the part of the applicant in Austria and the interfaces that he has to all the other partners in the consortium. But it should really demonstrate or explain the R&D that is performed by the Austrian partners. So this is what we like to see in the application, in the national application, and in the international application. It's the whole framework of the project that should be shown. Maybe Frederick or Sinip.
I would say you expressed it quite well from a Swedish perspective as well.
Thanks.
Maybe I can only add, we always take care of the innovation level of the project idea at the cluster level, at the international application. We also check the consortium, the strength of the consortium, and also we would like to see the market value. So your project ideas, will there be a market value out of this project? Will that be able to create an international, a global impact. Those are the criteria, at least we would like to see within your international application. And the collaboration, of course. There should be international collaboration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we are coming to an end. So thank you very much to all the speakers. Thank you for the audience for listening. And I wish you all the best with the projects, with this call and all the other upcoming Eureka calls. And I'm sure we will hear about the cluster calls in the future. As we have said in the beginning, it's a revitalized program. So thank you very much. That's it from us.